Hello, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Live Stream. We've got a lot of things to go over. Let's just jump right into it. So today, what I want to talk about is just the things that are potentially happening in the market and just the volatility that is potentially going on. And I know that no one can really give you a crystal ball. No one can say exactly where things are going. And I have to tell you, just some things that I take a look at, it just seems like things are repeating over and over again. I think that as time goes on, we've got like 90 to 120 days to kind of figure this out. Actually, it's probably more like a much shorter time horizon. So what I'm talking about is all the people that are out there, all the analysts, and I see a big movement towards one side, which is 4-year cycles are dead, fine. And because of all this great stuff that is happening in the background, the business cycle, quantitative tightening is ending. You got quantitative easing starting. The money printer is going to turn on any minute. And he got rate cuts, and Jerome Powell probably will cut rates in December. He'll stand down in April. He will get replaced by a Trump appointee, and things will be off the races. And that's it. They're all valid points. And of course, people talk about the clarity bill. Once we get that, and we get the current administration as they move forward with these bills to give us the type of regulation that we should have had a long time ago, everything will take off the races. No need to worry. Nothing to see here, citizen, and move forward. And I have to tell you, it's a compelling argument. It really is. When you take a look at all these things and you just take a look at the goodness and the bullishness that is happening. However, if I really think about it and sit back, and I think you have done this as well, which is, okay, that sounds great, but what about the other parts to everything? What about, I don't know, like this AI bubble that everybody keeps talking about? And of course, we can take a look at NVIDIA and the CEO Jensen coming out and saying, hey, there's a 7-page letter that pretty much debunks everything, but I'm still not convinced. I think we still have problems on the horizon, just like the .com era. I think there's different companies, and people can debate that all way. I get it. I understand. What about tariffs? I mean, these things that Donald Trump is talking about, and then he came out just recently and said, hey, we're going to get rid of income taxes because we're collecting so much in tariffs. Yeah, right. Sure. And then people will say, like, hey, midterms are coming up, and that's a good thing. It's not a good thing. And I don't want you to take it from me. I want you to do your own research. Take a look at midterm years in the traditional markets and in the crypto markets, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The midterm years, which we have one coming up, it is not vastly bullish. And then what about digital asset treasuries and these companies that are getting pressured by all of their stockholders? And it's happening right now. We just talked about MetaPlanet. MicroStrategy is down as well. And a whole host of people that I think went in a little bit too heavy, and now they're probably feeling a little bit of that pressure, going, wow, Bitcoin just dropped over 30%. Was this a pretty good plan? I know that the shareholders aren't too happy, and go from there. And then also, what about everything that's going on with MSCI as they're talking about potentially delisting all of these companies outside of MicroStrategy and saying, hey, if you hold more than 50% of these digital asset treasuries or digital assets, we're not going to include you in our index. And because of that, that will start to deleverage a lot of things and actually pull people off and have them automatically sell. And then, of course, the big one, which is this, and I think this is the bigger of all things. What about the unknowns? Because you know what you know what you don't know. That's not the problem. The problem is you don't know what you don't know. How many of us, raise your hand, understood exactly what happened on October 10th with Binance and everything that was happening? And also raise your hand if you saw it coming. And you're like, yep, that was definitely what's going to happen. There's going to be a bunch of leverage. It's going to be flushed out. It's all going to be because of this deleveraging action that they do. And it's going to just be the most amount of leverage plays that have been wiped out in the history of crypto and digital asset markets. If you raise your hand, call me directly, because I want to hire you right now, because you, sir or ma'am, are an amazing predictor of what's happening. And we see this happen again and again with the unknowns. What happened in 2021, 2022? Did anybody say, oh, wow, these exchanges, they just kind of blew up? What happened to FTX, Celsius, Voyager, Three Arrows Capital? What happened to Do Kwon, which actually he's facing charges right now to give 5 years or more in jail? The unknowns are what's going to get us, I think. And because of that, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. I don't think anybody can. They can make a compelling case, which makes sense for quantitative easing and the positive macro. But when I take a look at this, I just have my concerns. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about those concerns and just be straight up hopium. So we all know this chart. I've showed it to you way too many times. And of course, we have the halving, all-time highs and dips and resets and things like that. But I want you to notice something. I can't tell you about the unknowns, and no one really knows, just how great the economy or how it'll collapse or how in the middle of the road it'll be. But I can tell you about numbers. And I want to take a look at three things: all-time high to all-time high, all-time low to all-time low, and all-time high to ATL. So tell me if this isn't strange enough. 4-year cycles, I get it. People say those are dead. But take a look at this. An all-time high to all-time high from 2013 to 2017 was 1,400 plus days, 1,477. 2017 and 2021, 1,424. 2021 to 2025, 1,428. Kind of interesting, right? How things just start to repeat and repeat. How about an all-time low to the all-time high? Well, the first real low after the first halving was 2015. And in 2017, it took 1,068 days. And then from the all-time low for the next cycle, 2015, 2018 to 2021, 1,060 days. So you had 1,068 days, 1,060 days. And then take a look at this. November 9th, 2022 to potentially the next all-time high, October 6th, potentially 1,062 days. 1,068, 1,060, 1,062. And then this is the good one. All-time high to all-time low. I'm going to go against the grain and do what I said I really wouldn't do and shouldn't do, which is give some kind of price predictions. But I'm going to give you a range. So the all-time high to all-time low, it's interesting how this played out. So you had an all-time high in 2013 and 2015. It was $1,242. Wouldn't you love to have bought that Bitcoin back then? Well, it was a catastrophe because in roughly a year or so, you're in some change, you were down 86%, $172. Everybody knows this stuff. 2017 to 2018, it took 365 days. So you had 400 days, 365 days, it went down 85%. 2021, 2022, 366 days, and it went down 77%. So what does that mean for 2025? Anybody's guess if October 6th was the high of all time, essentially 126,000. But I see it like this. If everything stays the same and these numbers hold up, and some of them are doing so far so good, potentially, you've got between 365 and 411 days. That gives us a slow grind down to the low on October 6, 2026 to November 20th. And I can see us dropping 45 to 70%. Brace yourselves. Here's the bear market numbers. You're looking at if it's between 45 and 70%, and I'll explain why that. You're looking at Bitcoin at $38,000 to $69,000. So let me just say this. Could you handle that? Would that be too much? If that right there causes you to panic, I can't give you investment advice. But if it was me and I panicked at the thought of Bitcoin going to 38,000, I would probably want to sell now. I don't care if it goes to $1 million like everybody says it does. And if you'd like to see some more videos on price predictions, I just did one about 3-4 weeks ago or so, where I pretty much laid it all out and showed you that every single person that did a price prediction in 2021 was wrong, including myself. Everybody was wrong to the upside. And I think people should be a little more cautious, just a little bit. But that's where I see it. So why do I think that? Why do I think, okay, 45 to 70%? In the last 3 cycles, we had 86, 85, and 77. There's a couple of reasons to that. First of all, if all things be true, and things are a little bit different this cycle, that is I can tell you right there, the Bitcoin price has never dropped below election day. And the election day in 2012 was $10, 2016 was $700, 2020 was $14K, and 2024 is $69K. I hope that Bitcoin doesn't go below $69K, but if it does, I'll be ready to buy it because I believe in the long-term viability. However, for some people, it's not how it's going to be. But also, I can see it only going down 45 to 70%. And it's because there's this thing called volatility. And there's one thing that people did get right, and that's when the institutions came in, it would decrease the volatility. And you can see this right here. This is on Ben's site, Into the Cryptoverse. If you want to check it out, links in the description, 10% off the first month. But you can see that everything is below 5. And there's different volatility timelines you can use. I'm just using a 10-day right here. But you can see that over time, the volatility of Bitcoin, and you can do this with Bitcoin, Ethereum, any altcoin you want, you can see that how the volatility has decreased. That's good for institutions because they'll say, okay, great, maybe this could be a real store of value. Maybe it is gold 2.0. However, I understand the argument that people make, like it can't be a store of value right now because it's down 30% from its all-time high. I got you. It's a long-term store of value, maybe not a short-term. Maybe that's copium on my part. Now, let me know in the comments section. But you're going to see that that's what it is. However, if you want to do a volatility time frame of like, say, let's do 30 days, we can still see that everything is under the volatility percentage of 5%. And it's been that way since roughly 2022, 2021, when we had a spike in June and May and so on and so forth. How about a 60-day? And you can see that, yes, last time, roughly 2021, and everything's gone below 5% over a 60-day. And actually, it's been quite low as time has gone on. What about, I didn't even check this, 180-day. Okay, 180-day. You did get me, that's 180 days. And you can put in any way that you want to. We can just do, let's do 100 days. Still pretty good. So the volatility has decreased. They are right, even though we are down 30%. So there is that. And then also, something to, as far as like the percentage drawdown, as a reminder for the last cycle, and this is where it gets even more interesting. I told you those numbers, they kind of line up. Check this out. On November 8th, when we did an all-time high of last cycle, it was 67,617. I would still like to buy at that price. That's just me. We dropped pretty heavy, and then we had what some people call it a dead cat bounce, but it was sustained about a month or so, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was, and it went up to 50,000, which right now is like, I'd still love to have that. But at 50,000, that was a nice little increase of 26%. What I want to show you is what's the drawdown from the all-time high to the bounce. This is the Bitcoin percentage drawdown from all-time highs. Check this out. As I go down, here's the all-time high so far, 5th or 6th of October. Drawdowns went down to, 32%. What are they at right now? 27, 26%. What were we at back in the last cycle? Oh yeah, 26, 27%. It's the same thing. It dropped all the way down, had a bounce, and from its all-time high down to a little bit of an increase, 26%, 27% on this one. So I can see it moving, but what about the big time as it keeps going down? Well, from November 8th, 2021 to January 22nd, we had a nice 35, we had 48% drawdown. That's quite a bit. Roughly you lost half in 2 months. Yeah, roughly 2 months. So you came down here to 45,000, had a bounce to 50, kind of moved sideways, and then just collapsed down to 48%. Now, if we go from there to the next part, we actually had a rally up to March 29th of 2022. And this is where I think people are going to get caught, because they're going to hear people, the analysts, say, told you quantitative tightening is done, quantitative easing is here, money print to go burr, tariffs are actually working. We got Jerome Powell is pretty much gone in Q2 of 2026. And because of that, this will keep going. That's what everybody thought as well in 2022. They said, oh, that's just another drop down between when we had in April to June. They thought the same exact thing. Trust me, I was there. And then once this happened and came up, we're like, hey, we're at 47,000, which is only 35% down from the all-time high in 2021. And everybody was rejoicing, and they said, this is it, baby, we're so back. And guess what? It dropped down to 19,000, 18,000, 17,000, and it went sideways for 4 to 6 months, and it just bled everybody dry. And then we had all the exchanges essentially go broke. So what I'm telling you is this is also repeating. Let's take a look at 2018. Let me refresh this. So November 2017, well, December was the high. Look what happens here. It comes down, and we have this like low point. We're down 64%. But then around March or so, it goes right back up. And I remember this time as well. This was my first cycle. So we were only down 64%. And then we rallied back into March, and we're only down 40%. What happened here in 2021? We go down and we rally back up into March. Q1 2022, Q1 2018. And I'll show you again how it happened in 2021. It was the same thing. Let's see. November. Well, come down here. January 2022. And a nice little rally into March. So we bottomed out in January, which I think probably will happen again. And then we'll go right back up in March in Q1 2022. And everybody thought the same thing. We're back. This is it. We're going to have some pretty good things, but it didn't work out like that. So my thesis is, if we don't rebound into a nice little Q1 2022 like we've done the last couple cycles, I think there's something wrong. And it's at that point you have to decide for yourself, okay, are all these analysts correct? Are they going to be 100% on the ball and say that, okay, quantitative easing is here, sounds good. Okay, tariffs work, fantastic. Okay, there's no recession coming. There is no bubble. Things will just keep doing better. Could be, but I will tell you this, when we go up and I see any weakness, I will be selling, because I think we'll have a lot more drawdown from there. And that's just something to think about. That's it for tonight. So look, like tonight's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing when we talk about it's time sensitive. Now we'll get into Q&A. I'll answer all your questions. If I didn't make that clear, I apologize. But Q&A now and see where we go. All right. Cran says, just me or is the volume going up and down? Let's see. See what the settings are. No, I think so. I can put this on and see if it helps. Maybe it doesn't go. Sammy Holland says, so it's over. No, it's not over. We'll have to take a look at what happens in Q1. Again, like we just saw, I just showed you in 2017 and 2018, we had a nice little drawdown all the way to January, and then we bounced right back up into March. I think the same thing will happen. And if we bounce back up into March, then you have to take a look at, well, how strong is the economy? How are things looking? What is the inflation rate? How many rate cuts have we had? Did the actual Federal Reserve do what they said they were going to do? Or do we see that there's some things on the horizon that are be a little more concerning? Also, what's going on with the exchanges? How's everything going with the leverage? It's just a lot of things to take out. I don't see us. I just saw another price prediction, somebody talking, I think it was Adam Back. Yes. One of the OGs in Bitcoin. He said, yeah, this cycle we'll see 500,000. Okay. Sounds good. And you got Tom Lee saying 250,000 by December. Sounds good. We'll see. Let's see. Must be me. Well, hold on. It might not be. No volume, seller hodl. Rob, will Aether rebound? I sure hope so. I got a big fat bag of that stuff. I mean, if you're looking for AI and essentially what they're doing is renting out GPUs, I think it could do very well. The answer is that no one knows exactly when it's going to do and really pop off. Although it's done pretty well from like the inception. Com says, stop comparing now to past cycles. Well, I have to, because we have to see exactly what's being done. Like, if you would take a look at just midterm years, why would you discount that data? Every midterm year, which 2026, 2022, 2018, keep going back by 4, you'll figure it out. You will see the traditional markets lag. They have issues, they have problems, and the reason is because the market makers or the people that are actually in the market, they will say to themselves, we don't know what those Democrats or those Republicans are doing. Looks like there's going to be a flipping of the Senate or the House, if whatever that happened in. We don't know what the stance is. We don't know the bills are going to get passed. We don't like the unknown. We're going to sell and sit this one out. So like, why would you discount even the most basic thing, which is the midterm years? I get people are sick and tired of going, well, the 4-year cycles and they get ticked off. Trust me, in 2021, when I went through it, I was like, okay, well, there's no way that the top was 67,000. Everybody told me it's gonna be 100K. That doesn't make any sense. And you know, there's still money printing going on. The M2 money supply is still increasing a little bit. Then 2022 kind of fell off. So it's one of those things where you have to take a look at all the information and go from there. Now, if you want to take a look at other parts of the TA and just believe that, you know, the macro advice and the analysts are all going to be correct and it's all going to be fantastic, that's good. But I mean, again, like I always take a look at how many of the unknowns are known. And nobody saw October. And again, very few people saw what was happening with the exchanges beforehand. And it seems like everything just keeps repeating. Like there was a problem with the exchanges before, problem with exchanges now, wipes us out, lets us go down, have a little bit of a rally. We can sell there if we want to, or we can just stick around and hold it and keep buying. But I think, again, like if it's in my mind, I'm sure it's in other people's minds, so you might as well talk about it. All right. Yeah, nobody knows. Robbie, you're buying more gold and silver. I'm buying gold and silver through my iTRUST account. So I'm putting in my Roth IRA. I think that'll be a pretty big one. And silver just had a big, nice, fat run up yesterday. So we'll see. Pretty happy about that. Winning rates in 2.25. I hope so. That happens. Yeah. Q1 and Q2 has been read, which means 4-year cycles is broken. I don't know. I mean, if it is broken, you know, what would be the worst thing is that we actually break and we just keep going down. Like we don't have a blow off top, we just bleed out. That'd be the worst thing. Best case scenario, again, I don't see us rallying into Q3, Q4. If the traditional markets always flounder because of midterms and essentially what's going on with the macro, I don't see Bitcoin hitting all-time highs at that point. You can always buy more cookies. And let's see. December is 2 days ago. It's happening. 500. Well, it wasn't 500K. It was 500K to be fair. Adam back. I think he actually did say 500,000 to 1 million. So hopefully one of those does great. Yeah. Deal with the market you have, not the market you want. I think we'd all want a different market right now. And I think that's it. Great. I did it. We did it. We made through it. Not too many questions, so I did okay. Anyhow, that's it for tonight, everybody. So thanks for stopping by, hanging out with me for 23 minutes. I appreciate it. Tomorrow we'll have Sir Jerry from Costa Rica in, and we'll talk about what's going on in the market. He will give us more of an insight into the macro. He's more of a pro at that than I am. But that's it for tonight. So thanks, everybody. Hopefully you had a great holiday, and I'll see you guys mañana. Adios.